Alright.
What up? We're back. It's another 2 Hawks, no degrees. Doc Carver,
Frankie.
Doc Frankie.
Finally back together again.
Yep, back in the saddle again. Everything worked out. Apologies to everyone out there that I didn't post a video a couple days ago. Frankie and myself, we had a conversation and decided that, hey, our schedules worked out. We'd be able to link up today on Friday, the day before the XFL, and kind of shoot the breeze a little bit, and one thing led to another, and now here we are. So welcome back.
So NBA trade deadline. I'm going to hit on the Mookie Betts trade because you still got to get your research done on some baseball stuff, but you still got a while. Opening day isn't for another couple months.
That might happen. Maybe. We'll see.
So the Betts trade, and then obligatory Cowboys talk. Dak Prescott's looking to possibly hold out if he doesn't get a contract extension.
Yeah.
Or he'll go somewhere else because he's off of his rookie contract, so there's nothing they can do.
Probably.
And then XFL preview. Go through kind of the impact players. We'll also do some hog ball, talk about the guys that we think is going to make an immediate impact. And then it's pretty much gonna round everything out.
So let's hear about your stupid baseball.
So, Mookie Betts. The trade is final. Mookie Betts to the Dodgers for a slice of cake. It's pretty much all it is. I still have no idea what the Red Sox are thinking, and Bill Simmons, who does his own pod, he has his own website called The Ringer. He was a writer for ESPN. A bigger Boston fan than me because he was born there, he lived it, he grew up with it. He is on the same page as every other Red Sox fan, period.
Yeah.
This is indefensible. The thing that they were trying to do was they were trying to save cap space. They're trying to open up their market. They're trying to build their farm system up in the minor leagues. So they're trying to get prospects. But the thing is they've got numerous guys on 1-year contract. David Price, who before he came to Boston was known as a guy who couldn't get it done at all. Mm-hmm. He couldn't get it done in the playoffs. He was great in the regular season. He was the James Harden of baseball. Well, on our World Series run, he got 1 win under his belt in the divisional series, and then after that, it was just game on. He completely blew through the rest of the competition. Now he's getting on up in age. He's got 3 years, $96 million left on his contract. So him being traded, I completely understand. But Mookie Betts is under contract for 1 more year, $27 million. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent next year. Mm. So the whole thought process for every Boston fan coming into this year was that was going to be the guy. That is a franchise player. He's one of the top 5 players in Major League Baseball. He was going to be the guy that was going to get the contract, and Boston was going to build around.
Oh, okay.
That is completely out the window now, and now we're stuck with we didn't get really anything from him. Verdugo is a glorified backup, the guy that we got for him. We got a pitching prospect who can become a starter, but that's going to be years down the road. So Boston, as much as they want to try to defend it, as much as they want to try to sell it to the fan base, there's no way that they can. We understand, the fan base understands that we're trying to reduce costs. We're trying to do the whole Yankee thing to where we're going to, trade Aroldis Chapman for David Betances and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Or for Gleyber Torres is who they traded Chapman for. But they did not trade their franchise guys. No team. The Angels aren't looking to shop Mike Trout, and they don't make the playoffs. Mike Trout has no playoff wins in his entire career, and he's arguably the greatest baseball player we've ever seen. Mm-hmm. The Angels aren't looking to shop him. As a matter of fact, they just signed him to a decade-long deal.
Okay, yeah.
So he's
not going anywhere for a while.
Exactly. So why is it that a team like that, who doesn't have a history of winning, keeps their franchise guy and still brings in other people? The Dodgers made a separate move apart from this They sent Jock Peterson to the Angels, who's another outfitter, so he'll play alongside Mike Trout. But if a team like that who's not used to winning and who's not used to having a franchise guy like that extends this franchise guy for another decade, then why, as a team with history and a team with a history of winning and a team who's in a playoff run every year, who's one of the top teams in Major League Baseball, why, as a team, are you saying, okay, this is the best way for us to be cost effective? When you have an entire roster of guys, an entire starting nine of guys that you can flip all over the place, because as Red Sox fans, we understand we just lost Alex Cora, our manager. We know that more than likely we're not going to win this year. We're the third best team in the American League East, behind the Yankees, behind the Rays. But
wait, hold on. The Rays are a team.
The Rays
again?
The Rays are coming on. Actually, them and New York were actually battling for the top spot in the American League East last year until the very end of the season. So we understand talent-wise, roster-wise, we're the third best team.
Doesn't Derek Jeter like?
That's the Marlins.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's the principal owner of the Marlins.
Okay.
But so we understand that, but you have to have a guy that you can build a roster around.
Yeah. Every team has a focal point.
Exactly. There's always one guy that you're not going to let go. That is
Right.
going to be your focal point in your roster. And that's what everyone thought Betts was going to be. And then we come and make this deal and get their thing was, well, we want to get rid of him now. So, and get something back for him before he's an unrestricted free agent. Well, guess what? You have until you can go through the season and he can play with you. You can still do contract talks. You can go through the season if you feel like you're not winning and you do want to just go into a rebuilding mode. You can sell him to a playoff contender during the season. There was no reason that this deal had to be made now. The contract.
I mean, is there a personal element that no one's talking about? I mean, was he having trouble in Boston?
There was never any. The fans loved him. The team rallied around him. He seemed to be a leader.
No differences in leadership.
There was no, besides, he had been there before Alex Cora.
Right.
So there was no reason for Alex Cora to be the reason he left.
Right, I mean, yeah.
Now, it could have been, there was no word that, maybe he wanted out because of the whole investigation thing and he wanted to distance himself from that.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no talk about that. The only talk that's been happening is they wanted to reduce costs and they wanted to get under the luxury tax, and they wanted to get prospects. But for a guy like Mookie Betts, prospects don't cut it.
Right.
You need legitimate stuff back for him if the trade is going to make sense. Draft picks, prospects are nice, but you need something on top of them. Draft picks, guys who are going to come in and start right away, not just prospects.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem with this now is no matter how they try to defend it, and even Bill's, and I just actually got a notification, the reason I brought him up, is even he is calling this an indefensible trade. And that's pretty much what the consensus is in the sports world right now, is this is just a completely indefensible trade. We understand why they say they did it, but it doesn't make any sense. And that's pretty much my tangent on that. I'll sit here and try to defend it, but as a Red Sox fan, I can't wholeheartedly defend it. I can say that I understand why they did it, and I can say I understand what they want to do. But when you have a bunch of other people on the same one-year deal as Mookie Betts is, and who are nowhere near the caliber of player he is, they need to be the ones to go for prospects and cash, not Mookie Betts. That's pretty much what I have on that.
Thank God. I'm not a baseball fan, but I don't hate baseball either. It's just something that I never really, caught the bug on. I'm just not a baseball dude. But, it sounds to me, certain aspects of sports transcend one another, and if you have a key player, you're not going to want to let that key player go without at least some return on value.
Exactly. You think that the Chiefs are, as much as it's going to hurt them in the long run to pay Patrick Mahomes, you think that they're wanting to you think they're looking and shopping him around at the end of his contract, at the end of his rookie year?
Absolutely not.
No, they're not. they're fisting to Patrick Mahomes is fisting to get one hell of a payday.
Hey, he's fixing to get paid, and man. You look at all these teams that have had these quarterbacks, like Jared Goff with the Rams, and don't get me wrong, they made some moves on the defensive edge or on the defensive side of the ball that hurt them too. I mean, bringing in Jalen Ramsey is a good pickup, but whenever you take a quarterback off of his rookie contract and you raise him from $5-7 million, $12 million contract, and all of a sudden you're paying him $30 million, you've just doubled, if sometimes not tripled, that space in the salary cap allotment. So now there's less money to go around.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a hard time. I mean, sure, I totally agree. Play Mahomes, pay Mahomes. I mean, he's hottest commodity. Yeah, he's definitely earned it. He's one of the hottest commodities in the NFL right now. You definitely don't want him going anywhere. I mean, hell, he just brought you a Super Bowl in his third year in the league.
Probably would have been back-to-back Super Bowls if D Ford had not been 6 inches off sides last year.
No kidding. But you take the. It's all about the money allotment. You're only going to be able to pay people so much, and if they've earned it and they rate the pay increase, you're going to have to either find it from somewhere or you're just going to have to let that person go. I guarantee you, and I hate to say it, I really do. I hate to say it so much, but I really don't see this Chiefs team sticking together next year. I don't think that everybody that's there right now is on the Super Bowl team, and we see it every year. I mean, there's movement all around the league.
Not everyone can be New England.
Yeah, not everybody can be New England. But at the same time, at the end of the day, the NFL, just like any other professional sport, it is a business, and you have to think. And the thinking comes from, and a lot of fans that speak, they don't quite understand that there's two different perspectives to it. You also have to think on the owners and coaches side as opposed to just the players, because a lot of people can look at something like that, like a Mookie Betts trade, and they can say, well, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you do something like that? Why would you let this person go that just, brought you a Super Bowl? Like Sammy Watkins. Now, I'm not saying that Sammy Watkins is going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Tyreek
but
is going anywhere.
But Sammy is definitely going to look to get paid.
You would be insane if you thought that those people coming up on the end of their contracts right now or in a negotiation year in their contracts are not going to walk into that office and say, look what I just brought to this team.
Yeah.
My skills are worth X amount of money, and if you're not able to pay that, then I'm sure someone else out there will. There's 31 other teams that need somebody like me in some capacity. Out of 31 teams, I guarantee you there's 8 to 10 that would right then and there sign him right on the spot.
Sammy Watkins is going to be whenever, I don't know if it's this offseason or what, but Sammy Watkins, when he's ready, the man is just going to have money thrown at him.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's going to come down between him. Well, it'll be him, Hardman, and Hill, depending on where their contracts line up and how everything, turns out to be. Andy Reid, he caught lightning in a bottle this year, I think. I mean, and don't get me wrong, he's got the future in Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's going to have somebody there at the helm for quite a few years. I don't see Andy Reid going anywhere for a while either. Now that he's brought Super Bowl to Kansas City. Once he got to Kansas City, I think he pretty well knew that he was home. But next year, I don't foresee there being probably a quarter of the weapons that they had.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that there's going to be just decimated, but I think you're going to see a different makeup of the team. And who knows? I mean, maybe somebody comes in as a rookie and maybe they're able to draft some positions that come in and they make immediate impacts like a Dre Greenlaw did at linebacker this year for the 49ers. But I just don't think that we're going to see the same amount of production out of a Chiefs team next year like what we did this year.
Well, and that all depends on the contracts and how they line up. But we may see the same this year or this coming up season. I mean, I don't think they can be as good as they were these past 2 years.
Right.
Because they're going to lose some pieces.
Right.
But, I mean, this year may be a little bit of the same, but it's probably not this coming up season, but the next where you're going to see, okay, now these guys are fixing to want their money.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the obligatory stuff.
Oh, God.
Dak Prescott. Money, 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 money. He has earned, and you can attest to this, I was extremely critical of Dak Prescott at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
Over
We both were.
Over the past 3 years, I have watched him completely die out when Ezekiel Elliott is not playing well.
Yeah.
This year, he completely showed that he is the franchise quarterback, that he is the guy for the Cowboys heading into the future.
Even though he's not always successful, he can put a team on his back and give them a chance.
When he absolutely needs to, when he feels that he absolutely needs to, Dak Prescott can be the guy to say, you get behind me, I'm going to lead the charge, and we got this. Ezekiel Elliott, we can attribute it to not getting the ball a lot, not being the focal point of the offense.
I think that's the biggest reason, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that's the biggest reason that the Cowboys had such ill success whenever it came to the last half of the year, is for whatever reason. And listen, I'm not a Cowboys fan, you know that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Jason Garrett's fault. I don't know if it's the offensive coordinator Kellen Moore.
I think we can.
I don't know if it's his fault. I'm sure you can probably bring the clap into it. Probably 90% of all the discussions you want to have about that situation, but for whatever reason, they just stopped running Zeke. Yeah. And Ezekiel Elliott's the type of back. You have to worry about him busting a big play almost every time that he touches the ball, but over the course of time, he's shown his runs will come in spurts. You have to establish a rhythm with him.
Yeah.
You got to get him 4 or 5 carries in the first 2 series in order to really get his feet going and get himself into the game. And then once he gets that, he's a little steam engine. You get him you get him in motion. Once he gets started, it's hard to stop.
Yeah.
But you can't do that whenever you only let him carry the ball 13 times a game. You know, or even 17 times a game. You can't.
He has to be 20 plus.
He has to be 20 plus,
and
every game.
And it can be 20 rushes and 7 receptions, but it has to be somewhere between 22 and 28 touches.
Yeah.
A game.
Yeah.
Like the number of touches that he gets has to start with a 2.
He has to account for at least 25 plays a game.
Yeah.
No less than 25 games or 25 plays a game. He's got to account for, like you said, whether that be a reception or a run.
Yeah.
Because the firepower from Dak, yes, he can make things happen, but he is not a world beater.
He's not.
He's just not.
He
has to have a running back to complement him.
He can be the franchise guy for Dallas, and they've got their franchise running back. But the thing is so there's a new CBA, collective bargaining agreement, coming up that is being negotiated by the NFL to raise the cap. If you're Dallas,
not only to raise the cap, but to also restructure the percentage of shared revenue between owners and players.
But the thing about it is, if you're Dak, you're okay with not getting a deal right now. You can wait till after the CBA and get a deal, because that means, okay, now I can get more money. But if you're Jerry Jones, you want that deal done. You want to get him on a deal right now, because that means that you can sign him for less.
You can get him for a bargain.
Yeah, but the thing is if you don't get a deal done, then, and if you franchise tag him, he's already talking about how frustrated he is. If you franchise tag him, he's not going to sign that franchise tag, and he's going to sit out, because there are 6-7 teams that could possibly need a quarterback that is not going to get their quarterback in the draft, because the quarterbacks are going to go so quick, that are going to be, hey, we could use a guy like that, especially a team with a run game.
Yeah, and you're right, because I don't think that Dak's $30 million quarterback. I really don't. I don't think that he rates a $30 million over 6 years or whatever. I don't think that he rates that. I think with a Dak Prescott right now, based on what he did last year, I think you're looking at him somewhere in the area of 18 to 20 million.
But if you're looking at the market,
over maybe a 4 or 5 year stretch.
But if you're looking at the market, that's the thing is Dak's going to look at the market, and Jerry's looking at the market too, and he sees, okay, Carson Wentz got this $30-some million contract, $110 million guaranteed, I believe. That's the thing is the salary is not what players want.
Yeah, but that's Philly though.
Yeah, but Wentz has been hurt. That's the thing that Dak's looking at, though. Is Wentz has been hurt. I've been here every game. I've put up better stats than Wentz, and I've been in the playoffs. I've won a playoff game.
Right.
So why is this guy over here, who you never know is going to be there week to week, why is he getting a deal and I'm not? Why is he getting $110 million guaranteed and I can't get that plus some?
Jerry will tell him because it's Philly.
Yeah, but
you're not in Philly. You're in Dallas.
And
I mean, I get where you're coming from his perspective, but at the same time, I mean, Carson Wentz is a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, but you can't. But the thing about it is Dallas can't afford to lose that. There's no way they can't afford to lose him because
first off, go with?
You're too deep. You're too deep in the draft to grab a franchise guy.
Right. Yeah.
And Cooper Rush is your freaking backup.
So, I mean, what do you think they do? Do you think that they sign him, but they sign him for a shorter contract?
Well, the thing is so you're looking at two different people right now, and I believe what I heard on Get Up is they paid the wrong people first. Lyle Collins and Jalen Smith should not have been paid before a QB and a running back, because that was the problem with Zeke was they had dished out these two big contracts, so now we got to hurry up and find the money.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're looking at Dak and Amari. So if you use a franchise tag on Dak, are you giving Amari a long-term big extension?
Right.
If you give Dak this big extension, are you going to give him are you going to put Amari under the franchise tag? And is Amari? That's the thing that's not being talked about. Would Amari play under a franchise? He made it known at the end of last year, I want to be here. I want to be in Dallas. But that sentiment can become different when you're not getting what you feel like you're owed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see that, but at the same time, if you want to be there, you want to be there.
And even Dominique Foxworth.
If you want to be there, you're going to do what it takes to keep you there.
Yeah.
Like, if you specify, hey, I want to be here, I want to play for this team, I believe in what we have going on here, and I want to help us find greater success, you're going to be more apt to work with the contract negotiations and maybe take a little less money. That's why they call them team builder contracts. I mean,
but even Dominique Foxworth made the point of Zeke was rewarded for bad behavior.
Yeah.
So now Dak, who is truly a leader, and the guys trust him, and he's always been there. Now Dak is going to look at that and be like, "Well, I'm a nice guy, but nice guys get their contracts last. So what about me? Yeah. What do I have to do to get my deal?"
Yeah, what about me?
Yeah.
I'm standing over here. What about me?
Exactly.
I don't know, man. I think they'll probably sign him for another 3 to 5 years, but I don't think it'll be no $30 million. I really don't. I look for probably a 4-year contract somewhere in the area of probably 18, and I'll go higher. I said 18 to 20 earlier. I'll go 18 to 22 over 4. I think that's the number that they'll end up agreeing on. And I think Jerry will talk to him. And with him being such a nice guy, I think that he understands that, I do need to get a little more money. A little more than my rookie contract, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Like, I won't argue that. That's I totally agree with that. He's definitely worth more than a rookie contract, absolutely. But $30 million, $40 million, $50 million? No. $100 million? Get out of here. There's no way that he's a $100 million quarterback right now. I mean, it's the same thing with Jameis Winston wanting $30 million. I mean, he's basically wanting to be paid per interception. I mean, that's pretty much what he wants to have done.
I will say this about Jameis. He's in the top 3 when it comes to most exciting QB. When it comes to most exciting players in NFL football.
You never know what's going to happen.
Jameis Winston is one of the... Like, Jameis is a guy you put on TV every week.
Hell yeah.
Because people want to watch him and see what's going to happen.
Right.
And the thing is you hear, like I hear it on the Bill Simmons podcast all the time, is him and Ryan Russillo are always betting. There's always a bet, okay, on this play, is Jameis going to throw an interception? How many interceptions is he going to have? Mm-hmm. And that's where people make their, where a lot of people make their money with Jameis. Mm-hmm. But then he'll shock you and he'll go for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns and no picks. and then the next week he'll come back, throw for 4. He's going to throw for 300 plus easy.
Bro, he's so wildly inconsistent. So wild. It's so wild. But yet he has the gall to walk into the front office and be like, hey, give me 30 minutes.
Exactly.
Like, what?
Exactly. Oh, you think you're on par with Carson Wentz, who just took a ragtag team of nobodies into the playoffs.
Right? Like, bro, you just cost us 6 wins on the season because you can't. Your completion percentage right now is better to the other team. Like, come on now.
Exactly. But, I mean, we'll see. I don't think anything's going to happen until after the CBA is signed.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't see anything.
When's that going to be signed by? This summer? Like June or something?
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. I don't see what.
You got a computer.
I don't know what. Let's see. When does the CBA have to be signed? Because I'm not quite sure.
Because I know that they're about to go into talks, like here pretty quick. And I know it's not going to be signed anytime soon because there's going to be a lot of litigation and arbitration going on between the two. Yeah.
All right, so that was 2011. I don't know when.
So the way that we've got everything set up right now while he's looking that up, I'll go ahead and talk to you guys kind of about what's going on with the future of the channel as it stands right now. As some of you may know, some of you may not know, we live like an hour and a half apart from one another. So sometimes it's difficult to travel to each other to try to cut these. We try to do them once a week. Frankie does a lot of solo podcasts. It's probably the way that we're going to play it here for the foreseeable future. Is we'll do some paired podcasts for sure, where we're in the same room together, and that's really what we would love to do all the time for every episode. But since the logistics and he's got a fiance and a son, and I've got a wife and 2 kids. I mean, we have lives of our own as well. I think right now the way that we're going to end up doing it is he's going to cut some solo videos. I'm going to begin to cut some solo videos myself. I'll probably talk a little bit more about hog basketball, college sports in general. Probably give you guys a little bit of NASCAR for whoever might be interested in that out there. We'll see how that goes, but as of right now, it'll still be both of us on the channel. But I think you're just going to get it broken down into individual videos from each of us for a while. So
still 2 years on the CBA, but the players are trying to negotiate they're trying to get a new one done now, so they don't have to wait till the last second.
Right, because it'll be an extension of 2010.
But Goodell guaranteed that he expects a new one before the start of this new season.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is some of these players are going to wait for that, and then it's going to get too deep, and they're going to have to take the deals that are just thrown at them, and that's going to be the thing. Everybody's gambling right now.
As long as they can get it signed before OTAs.
Yeah.
That's what players are waiting for right now.
But everybody's
before everybody goes to training camp, they're banking on them to be able to sign, come together, agree on terms, and sign. So we're looking at what, July?
Yeah.
Early July.
Yeah, early July. So. But I mean, everyone's gambling right now. But NFL's over. That's enough of that. Or we'll keep an eye on the whole. We'll keep an eye on all that. But so the biggest thing that happened this week, before we get into all of our XFL stuff, NBA trade deadline. Whew, there's a couple of big.
A lot of movement.
Yeah. So the biggest one, which is the biggest trade in NBA history, as reported. So there's a 4-team trade between the Hawks, the Rockets, the Timberwolves, and the Denver Nuggets. So bear with me because this is all the movement. I have it pulled. This is all the movement that happened. So in 4-team trade, the Hawks traded 2026 second-round draft pick to the Rockets. The Hawks also traded Evan Turner and a 2020 first-round draft pick to the T-Wolves. The Nuggets traded Malik Beasley, Hernan Gomez, and Jared Vanderbilt to the Timberwolves. The Houston Rockets traded Clint Capella and Nene to the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta then waived Nene, so they're not keeping him on the roster. The Rockets traded Gerald Green and a 2020 first-round draft pick to the Denver Nuggets. The Minnesota Timberwolves traded Keita Bates-Diop, Shabazz Napier, and Noah Vonleh to the Nuggets, and the Timberwolves traded Jordan Bell and Robert Covington to the Houston Rockets. The pick is Golden State's 2020 second round pick and Brooklyn's 20. So what happened with the Rockets is they're trying to go small ball. That's what they're doing. They basically dumped their centers. Mm-hmm. Their tallest starter now is 6'6" in an NBA game.
What is it with this small ball?
So
I don't understand. I understand.
So analytics, analytics is what caused.
All about the analytics.
Analytics is what's caused all this. Teams are going smaller to play faster, to play at a faster pace, to wear everyone down. Pace and space is the thing. And Houston Rockets are arguably, since the Warriors collapsed, are arguably the best team when it comes to pace and space. Because
that's who revolutionized small ball, was the Warriors, right?
Yeah. Well, the Warriors brought it in with Draymond Green kind of playing small.
Yeah, but if Draymond Green is how tall? 6'9", 6'10"? 6'9",
6'10". But if you look, I think he's registered at 6'8". But if you look at it, really, the pace and space game started with Mike D'Antoni in the mid 2000s with Steve Nash and the 7 seconds or less Suns.
Yeah.
Where 7 seconds into the shot clock, he wanted shots.
Right.
Like that was, we're going to get up court, we're going to take 20 more shots than you are, and that's how we're going to outscore you.
Yeah, because shoot.
Yeah, shoot. But, so the thing with this is and apparently the Hawks just want everyone center. I think they ended up getting like 3 centers in these trades, but they waived 2 of them. So I don't know what the Hawks are thinking, but so that was the first big trade. Golden State, they're rebuilding. They're looking for next year. I would have loved to have seen, which D'Angelo's a starter. He's not a bench guy. He doesn't want to be a bench guy. D'Angelo Russell, he made his name last year with the Nets after a tumultuous time with LA. He finally found his rhythm last year. I would have loved to have seen D'Angelo on a team with Clay and Steph next year, but everyone pretty much knew that wasn't going to happen because D'Angelo wants to be a starter. He wouldn't be a starter in that offense. So Golden State traded Jacob Evans, him, and Amari Spellman to the Timberwolves. Timberwolves were involved in a lot of stuff this week.
Okay.
For Andrew Wiggins, who I believe this works well. Well, the Warriors get a couple draft picks, but I believe this works more well for Karl Anthony Towns in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. He has been extremely frustrated. Andrew Wiggins has been a here and there player. He doesn't seem like he really tries a lot. That's what Jimmy Butler had a problem with when he was with Minnesota, is he felt like these young guys just didn't give a crap. Gotcha. He felt like Cat could be more aggressive, which Cat seemed like he became more aggressive after that.
Right. Wiggins,
who is one of the better talents we've ever seen, come into the NBA. Everyone saw him as a defensive stalwart. He was going to irritate you. So now, if you look at it, now Cat gets a guy. Mm-hmm. Russell can be a guy. Right. Especially with a guy like Karl Anthony Towns, who can spread the court as a 5. He can bump out to the 3. He can take threes. He can run pick and pop. He can run pick and roll. He's strong enough down low. I feel like that's something that Karl Anthony Towns is going to enjoy. Mm-hmm. He's going to have a guy who can really run an offense with, and that's going to be a definite big 1-2 punch because D'Angelo can pull off the screen and shoot.
Right.
And his vision has gotten better, so that's going to allow Towns more flexibility around and working into open spaces, and D'Angelo's going to get the ball into the open space, kind of like the quarterback. And speaking of quarterback, that's one thing that I liked about. I heard Frank Vogel in a huddle last night in the Lakers-Rockets game. He looked at his players and he told them, "Run your routes right. You have the best quarterback in the game." Talking about LeBron James,
right? Yeah,
which he is. And the Lakers didn't make a move at the trade deadline, which was, some people saw it as shocking. They felt like they needed a piece, but they're the number 1 team in the West, so I don't understand that.
And who do they take? Honestly,
exactly. But they lost to speaking of Rockets small ball, they lost to the Rockets last night. They have Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis all on that team. They only out-rebounded
by 1.
And they were tied on offensive boards. Yeah. And the Rockets had more blocks, and they ended up winning by 10. That's ridiculous when you have 3 7-footers standing over there and a 6'9" bully in the paint in LeBron James.
Yeah.
Who can still jump out of a building when he needs to.
Well, I don't think we'll see. I think the Lakers will still end up being the number 1 team in the West, but they're still reeling, man.
Yeah.
They're still reeling off the Kobe loss. They really are. A lot of teams are, really. I mean, if you look at it, they've kind of gotten somewhat back to normal, but you can still see it out there, man. There's some people that they're wounded.
Yeah.
You know, I think after February, I think you're going to see a marked improvement. 2/24, April 24th of this month is supposed to be the Kobe memorial for him and his daughter Gianna. 2/24 is supposed to be that day. For some of you guys that probably don't know what I'm talking about, that date is significant because his daughter wore a jersey that had 2. And as I'm sure everybody knows already, or at least by now, Kobe wore 2 different numbers in his career. He wore the number 8 and then he wore the number 24. So that'll be the day, I think, that a lot of changes you'll see in people's mental status and just their overall effort in those games afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of teams, a lot of guys, especially a lot of guys on the Lakers, are still going through a lot of the grief.
Yeah, and the game was in Staples last night, so that was another big thing. But
I agree that the fact of the matter still remains that
there's no way you lose
when you have bigs down there like that are on the court at the same time. There's no excuse to get out rebounded by somebody.
Especially when you've got the best big in the game in Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
But so Golden State also made another trade, getting off of the Lakers thing. That was just kind of a tangent I want to go off on because of the whole Rockets deal. But they also traded Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson to the 76ers, which I thought for the 76ers was phenomenal because you bring in 2 guys who can shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And your problem right now in Philadelphia, and this is why Monday I talked about, I believe that in the next few years, you're going to see a split between Simmons and Embiid because Simmons needs to leave.
Yeah.
If not for just the 76ers own good, but his own good. Because
did you see Shaq light up Embiid?
Yeah.
You saw that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, that was so funny.
It's
so funny.
Because Shaq doesn't understand. The one thing that Shaq is trying to get through Embiid's head is get in the freaking post.
Yeah.
Stop playing 18 feet out. Stop taking 5-6
You're
threes
a big. Play like a big.
You're a big man who, when you're on the post, you're arguably the best center in the game. So why are you staying out there and playing with these smaller guys on the outside? That's why I think that
work on your range in practice.
If you get rid of Ben Simmons and you bring in a guy, say like Derrick Rose, if you get rid of Simmons and bring in a guard who can stay outside, because Simmons can't, and that's why it gets bogged down. They have no spacing. That's why I think that Burks and Glenn Robinson trade was amazing because it allows them to space the court out more. But this problem for the 76ers, who have lost 4 games in a row and who were one of the top 3 seeds coming into this season, are now 6th in the East, which is, the East is pretty stocked in talent, but they're not the West.
Yeah.
And with the talent that the 76ers had, especially defensively, they should be the second best, because Milwaukee, no one's taken over them as the number 1 team. 76ers should be in the number 2 seed, but now they're in the 6th after losing 4 games in a row. And that's ridiculous to me.
Well, that just shows you how close the East is to one another. You lose 4 games in a row and you drop from 2 to 6.
Yeah.
There's no reason why they can't get that back.
But I think the problem definitely lies. I don't put this on Brett Brown as much as other people want to. His coaching for the 76ers has not been what people would like it to see, but you don't have a team put together. Your 2 stars cannot work together.
Right, yeah.
They can, but their games don't correlate to each other.
Right.
Because teams don't fear him as much.
Is Simmons a meme?
Huh?
Is Simmons a meme?
What do you mean?
Is he just a meme? I see a lot of people talking about this Ben Simmons, and a lot of it is praise on him. Everything that he's produced is, it seems like
he's an amazing talent, and he has all the tangibles to be a good point guard. But it's just the team that he's on and the other star with him does not fit with his type
So
of
he
game
needs
play.
a different system.
He would benefit. Now this small ball Rockets.
So where would he go?
I don't know who's going to have the cap space for him, and because Simmons is going to want a big contract when it comes that time, because he is that good of a talent. But if in a perfect world, the team for him would, if they got rid of Westbrook, the team for him would be Houston.
Yeah,
because everything is spread out. He's the only one that's going to run inside the paint, and he can post up and he can do his moves inside, but. I don't know if Houston would be able to swing that, especially because they have Westbrook, who can't play outside either.
Right.
Who's an inside guy who can't shoot for shit either. So,
who's down there with Lonzo in New Orleans?
Well, that's a real young team. Lonzo, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Zion, Drew Holiday is the veteran out of the group. You have Jackson Hayes, who they drafted out of Texas this year, who's been very good for them.
Simmons is what? A shooting guard?
Simmons?
Yeah.
No, he's a 6'10" point guard. He's kind of like Magic Johnson without the shot.
Or a 16 point guard like Kevin Durant played in college.
Yeah. Except he just can't shoot. Well, he can, but
he doesn't have range.
He doesn't have the range to do it consistently to stay out of the paint. But I mean,
that's tough too, because you can't. I mean, if he's a 6'10" point guard with the Sixers, right?
Yeah.
If he's a 6'10" point guard with not a quick first step. Now, granted, I'm just talking out of my ass right now because I've only watched Ben Simmons play once this year, but it seems to me that with that length and you saying that him not being really efficient within the system that he's in right now. I mean, wouldn't you think that he would at least have to go to at the very least, a shooting guard spot on another team, if not a power forward or small forward? Right?
I'm going to say I think he would do well in a 3 spot, but he handles the ball. But you look at other teams, you can have multiple guys handle the ball. That's not that. I mean, that's Simmons can.
It's just the utility that he plays within that offense.
Simmons doesn't have to play the 1. But he's the best option at the 1 that Philadelphia had. He doesn't have to play the 1, and I think that
why not then trade him away and just find a 1? Okay,
exactly. That's the point I'm saying. But that's probably not going to happen for another. I don't know how much is left on his contract.
Is he on a rookie contract?
They may in a contract year. I think he's still on a rookie contract. But they may in his contract year. Or maybe they're signing to an extension. I can't remember. But
if you got a computer.
But but I don't. Let's see what Ben Simmons' contract is. But I don't think that they can play together for much longer.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So that's right. He signed a max. So he's on a 5-year max contract right now. So that's another thing is
worth $170 million.
Yeah. So that's another thing.
Yeah. So Ben Simmons ain't going nowhere for a while.
Okay. So this is his last year of his rookie year. So he's got 5 more years left.
Okay.
So the thing is no one's going to want to take. You have to find a team that has a ton of cap space.
In order to take that
contract on. So that's going to.
You don't have anybody out there.
Exactly.
Right now.
That's going to be the thing. That's why I say it's not going to happen for another 2 or 3 years. Now teams may start scheming now.
Right.
To open up that cap space,
mm-hmm.
A team like the Knicks may try to open up that cap space because the Knicks are always trying to open up cap space. They just continually miss on people.
Mm-hmm.
But that could be a team. But off of that tangent, that thing it's not going to happen for another 2 or 3 years. So we'll talk about that as the time comes.
Right.
But it's definitely something that's already in the mind of, and I hear a lot of the experts talk about it as well. So right. I mean, it's definitely on the mind of a lot of people. Really, the final big trade was Miami finally agreed. Andre Iguodala has been holding out all year on a young Memphis Grizzlies team. I think that Miami they didn't get worse, they didn't get better with these additions. I think that Memphis is looking for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So they wanted to go young. Deion Waiters is really not young. He's really not a consistent player. But when you look at Justice Winslow and a James Johnson, they're looking to kind of solidify a core that they can ride for the next 3 because John Morant is going to be an absolute stud.
Yeah, he's going to be in Memphis for a
years
while.
to come.
Yeah.
The only problem now is you don't get to see a lot of his. I mean, you see it, but you don't get to see his crazed potential because they don't really have a lot around him.
Right.
But Andre Iguodala, Solomon Hill, and Jay Crowder go to Miami. Andre signs a 2 or 3 year extension right away. That's the deal. So Miami's looking to win now. They went out and got some older guys in these three. Jay Crowder and Andre.
Pat Riley don't lose.
Jay Crowder and Andre Iguodala are going to be 2 defensive guys. Iguodala can make big shots for you. He can spread the court out for you. Jay can do the same thing, minus the big shots. He's never really shown that. But Iggy in his run with the Warriors shown I can hit big shots when you need me to. So that's
he's still one of the best defensive players in the league.
Exactly. And that's
in a league that doesn't play defense.
Yeah.
You need someone like that.
That's the thing is that's going to be the whole thing is they're trying to solidify a defensive stalwart there, and Andre definitely brings that. He's always been one of my favorite players. I feel like he's always been one of the lesser respected players for the stuff that he brings to a team.
Mm-hmm.
But that's definitely going to be something that's definitely going to need to be watched and see how that team plays now that all the trades are settled and all that. Now it's time to make these playoff runs. All-Star Weekend is next week, so we're getting into the final games before that. Everyone gets their 2 or 3 day break, and then it's off to the races after that with 20 some odd games left in the season.
Right.
Because their basketball is a lot weirder than baseball or something like that. They don't do it almost exactly in the middle of the year. They do it 3/4 of the way during the year.
Right, yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah.
So weird.
So that's pretty much all. That's pretty much all for NBA. I want to talk about the trade deadline.
National Signing Day for college football was 2 days ago, and Arkansas did way better than anybody expected them to at all. I was super stoked about that. They signed a total of 23 kids for the class. They've got 2 spots left. They don't have anybody that they can hold back to last year or sign from last year to free them up with more spots. So 25 is the standard, and that's what they can come up with for this year. They're looking at 2 different positions that they're trying to fill for the last 2 spots. They signed 13 players. No, I'm sorry. It was 23 players. It was... How many on defense? It was 8 players on offense, so it was 15 players on defense and 8 on offense.
Yeah.
So, Sam Pittman said in his press conference that it wasn't necessarily that they were going out trying to recruit. It wasn't so much talent, though his words were, it wasn't talent as much as it was numbers for the defense. And that's not to say that he just went out and looked for just anybody and didn't care about talent. I think that statement was said more towards no disrespect to the players that we have now. We have players that are able to produce and able to be out there and are worthy of being here. It was weird how it came out of his mouth talking about how we didn't go for talent, we just went for numbers.
But he said when they came here.
But they had a short field to work with pretty much in way of recruiting. They only had, a month and a half, 2 months.
And he said when he came here in his opening press conference, when they asked him what guys are you going to go after,
people that want to be here.
He said we're going to go after people we're going to be here, and we're not just going to go after these lowly 3 or 4 stars. We're going for the top dog.
Yeah, he said we're going to go after every 5-star in the country, which obviously every coach will do. But, the priority is going to be, do you believe in what the Arkansas Razorbacks have going on at their program? And if you can do that, there's so many NFL players right now that came out of junior colleges and were 2-star prospects whenever they went into college. And, it doesn't matter.
Look at Jefferson for LSU this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
He had no ranking at all.
Had absolutely no ranking whatsoever, and now he's looking at going and playing on Sundays. So I love the philosophy of him approaching it that way, because I think that's what Arkansas has needed for a while. I think whenever you saw Jeff Long come in here, bringing Brett Bielema in, which I called his firing 2 years early. I think the writing was on the wall for a while because you started to see the program in and of itself get away from what it knew was successful.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the fact that they went out and was, I don't know, high, just high society and go out and we only want, obviously you want winners. Obviously you want people that are dedicated to the craft, but not so much as like a Chad Morris style to where we only want people who have seen success. Like we only want people who have won state championships and that type of thing, or winners in life. Yeah, we get all that, but it was the fact that the kids in the past, especially in the Houston Nutt era, it wasn't the fact that they wanted to play football. It was the fact that they wanted to play football at the University of Arkansas.
Like you said, they had all their letters signed.
They had
set before 8 a.m.
Yeah, nine players signed early in the early signing period. Arkansas got 9 signings.
Yeah.
The remaining all had their letters submitted on National Signing Day before 8 o'clock in the morning. At 7:47, every letter of intent was signed and faxed into that office.
Yeah.
That is a perfect indication of how bad these kids want to be here at this program. I think there's change on the rise. There's change coming, and it's going to be for the better. I don't think that we're going to see any more 2-10 seasons for a while. Granted, I don't think we're going to see a winning season for at least another year, maybe 2. By year 2 of the Sam Pittman era, to be perfectly honest with you, I will expect at least 5 wins, if not to go bowling. I think this year, I think it's not out of the realm of possibility to see 4 to 5 wins. If I'm an extreme optimist, I think it's possible that they could see 6 wins, but you're looking at banking on winning out in non-conference play, and now that the coaching carousel has spun the way that it has, I think Missouri's a very winnable game. I think that
we've already got Missouri in their own heads.
Yeah, with Drinkwitz saying what he said yesterday or the day before?
School down south stealing. Yeah,
a certain school down south kept us from getting some of the guys that we wanted.
We know who you were talking about.
Yeah, everybody knows, bro. The only thing I can tell you is just
be better.
Be a better recruiter, I guess. I don't know what else to tell you, man.
You're battling a guy who's known as one of the best recruiters.
Yeah, and it doesn't help.
Sam Pittman is known as one of the best recruiters in college football.
And what did you expect, dude? The damn defensive coordinator was last year the head coach at Missouri.
Exactly.
Come on, bro.
Exactly.
What do you want to do with that? Do you want him to go out and completely build a whole new recruiting board? That's not going to happen.
I think the biggest thing for this coming up year, though, is these guys don't need to get discouraged after the Notre Dame game, because it's expected.
Who knows?
We may shock the world.
Who knows?
We may shock the world. But
I think the first test of the year is going to be Nevada. I really do.
Yeah.
First game of the year is going to be the first test of the year.
But you know what the expectation against Notre Dame is going to be for national wide.
Yeah. Honestly, if I'm putting money on it and I'm writing in the sports book, I'm counting it as a loss.
Yeah. We're probably, and it's not just going to be a loss. Most people are probably expecting it to be a pretty big loss.
Yeah.
But these young kids that have come here and they want to be here, that's the one thing that I want to look for is after the Notre Dame game, does the motivation fall off?
Well, I think the biggest question for that, the biggest question that you have to ask on the practice field is going to be, what is the progression of the freshmen that came in last year?
Yeah.
The ones that are going to be seeing the field primarily this year at a sophomore level, and you're going to have juniors that are coming in that are going to have to pull a lot of weight. What's going to be, how much are we going to see in progression from year 1 to year 2 and then personal?
Especially on the defense.
Especially on the defensive side.
We know what we're going to get from Burks and Knox.
Because you have to have Jalen Catalon step up. You have to have, you're going to have an Enoch Jackson or a Torian Carter on the defensive line step up and start to fulfill that role. Because Sosa Game isn't here anymore.
Exactly.
He was the anchor of that line. And granted, you're getting Dorian Gerald back on the defensive line. That's a huge get. He's going to be an all-SEC caliber defensive end. Mateo Soli, I think you're going to see him because last year he had his hand wrapped up like a club because it was broken, and even though he still was very active and made plays, that's going to limit anybody, or grabbing a jersey or tripping somebody up. So I agree. I think the biggest telltale sign is going to be how much improvement on the defensive end, having the people that we lost, are they able to step in and fulfill that role? Because Cam Curl's gone.
Yeah.
Personally, just his mannerisms in the post game interviews and things like that seemed like that he really wasn't happy with his situation there at Arkansas there towards the end.
And we said said that later in the year watching him. It just didn't look like he was all there on the field. Even on the field, it didn't look like he just looked like, okay, I'm just here to play. I'm just going to go through the motions and we're going to beat it.
Yeah.
But the thing, I mean, the defensive side is going to be the biggest question because you know what you're going to get on the other side. You've got Philippe Franks coming in. That offensive line is going to be anchored down. We know the starting five there. You got Boyd back, and then you've got Trey Burks, Mike Woods, and Trey Knox on the outside. Those are going to be your top three guys.
Right.
Philippe Franks has won in the SEC. He's won at a high level. He knows what it takes. So you have a very big idea of what you're getting on the offensive side of the football. And we'll see it during the spring game, which me and you were planning on going to the spring game and reporting afterwards.
Yep.
So that's going to be a huge thing is you pretty much know what you're going to get offensive wise. It's just the defensive side, and the two guys that we're going to talk about here in a second are two guys that are probably going to have to step up right away.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially Slusher, who is probably going to be that Cam Curl type of guy who is, I'm fixing to come headhunting, and I want to be in the box, and I want to take on everybody.
Yeah, because somebody's going to have to replace Cam. You got Monterey Brown coming back on the other side as a cornerback. Joe Fouché, he's coming back.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Joe Fouché, in my personal opinion, Joe Fouché has not been the player that I expected him to be. I really don't think that he's performed. Now, granted, hopefully he steps out and makes a name for himself this year, more so than what he did last year. But I think Jalen Catalon's going to have to step up big in the safety department. Greg Brooks, at first he thought he was going to leave, then he was staying, then now he's coming back and he's all on board, and he's going to be the anchor right there at the nickel spot.
Yeah.
As that slot cornerback. It's going to be a very key position, I think, for this year. And now, granted, as well, they're switching up defensive schemes entirely. I mean, the last, with Chief, with John Chavis, they ran a 4-3. Now we're switching up to running a 3-4, 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers. So you're going to have a lot of improvement and some people really step up and make a name for themselves in the linebacker core. You're going to have Bunker Poole there. You're going to have
and you know what you're going to get.
Henry.
You know what you're going to get from Bumper. He's going to play hard every snap.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he does.
Yep.
He's going to be your heart and soul on defense. Yep. He's going to be in every play.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be your leader. Bumper is going to be the guy who these young guys on defense are going to look to and say, okay, what do we need to do?
Yep.
Monterey Brown is going to be that guy in the back end that's going to be like, okay, guys, this is what we need to do.
Yep.
So I mean, you've got the leadership there. It's just how much improvement have they made themselves to be able to mentor these younger guys?
Yeah, and they signed 3 offensive linemen coming in. Jalen St. John, Scott Jr. I know is his last name. I forget his first name off the top of my head.
Yeah, Ray Curry.
Ray Curry Jr.
Marcus Henderson.
Yeah, Marcus Henderson. Watching tape on him earlier today, Jalen St. John is one that's definitely an improvement project. He's somebody that you're going to have to build on and kind of work up.
He gets beat. His lateral quickness isn't what it needs to be. His first step on the pass rush, his first step on that pass protection, if they're doing an outside move on him, he's going to get caught because he doesn't have the speed to stay with
his
him.
His hand fighting is uncoordinated.
Yes, they're gonna swim past him. It's going to be a lot, and you know that they're going to look at him, and Pittman's going to work on him. But that's definitely something. Then we've seen with Curry that he's very slow getting off the line.
Right.
And that was something that me and you both saw was it's going to have to be, trying it back.
Yeah.
But they're going to really have to work on him because he's going to have to get faster off the line.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at these three. We didn't really look at Henderson's tape, but we're looking at those two guys probably not starting until probably their junior years, just because of the development that they have to go through. And we'll see with the strength training and with Odom being there, with with Bryles being there, with Pittman being there, who is, even though he's the head coach now, offensive line is where he's made his money.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how he works with those guys, but they definitely have some improvement for that position.
Yeah, and talking about the offensive side of the ball, one of the two slots that they're really trying to fill right now is tight end.
Yeah,
and they're because they've only got 3 tight ends on scholarship right now with the tight end commit that they had gotten in the class. And Sam Pittman had said in his post-signing day interview that they really want 5 on the roster, which makes sense for what they're trying to do. Because I don't think the offense is gonna be too different than what we saw with like a Joe Craddock offense. I watched some of Florida State's tape from last year and watched them in the bowl game, and it seems pretty much the same style of offense, that RPO style.
Yeah.
It may be just a little bit more run heavy.
I just think that he didn't. You can look at Bryles' tape from last year. With the loss of Francois, he really didn't have the quarterback talent to carry that team.
No, they didn't. It was the same thing as Arkansas. They didn't know who they wanted. They literally flipped it was like they flipped a coin to figure out who the starting quarterback was
on every drive.
I mean, it was insane. So he's used to that type of thing. I think Arkansas has Felipe Franks coming in for sure. That's your starter.
Yeah,
that's your starter. Yeah. He's not going anywhere. There's not going to be any competition. He's not coming in just to wave at the crowd and leave. Felipe Franks will be the starter, which is great. So that's got the quarterback position nailed down. And then you've got Rakeem Boyd returning as a running back. He's going to put up another 1,000 plus. And then you've got a guy that was brought in on a transfer last year named Traylon Smith.
Yeah.
And he's going to be, I'm going to say this now, I think that he has the potential of being the second 1,000-yard back for Arkansas this year if the offensive line is able to play to their potential.
And me and you talked about him earlier, and we talked about what he brings that Whaley and them didn't bring.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that Whaley last year a lot of times was too hesitant to hit the hole.
Yep.
And by the time he was ready to hit the hole, the defense had already got him.
Mm-hmm.
Smith and Boyd both they both have the vision. They both allow the blockers to set up in front of them, but they don't take too long as to where they allow the defense to get to them. They're going to find the hole, and as soon as they see it, they're hitting it.
Yeah, some of the players and assistant coaches last year, whenever they were talking about Traylon Smith, they were asking about his run style. They said he just flows like water.
Yeah.
He's able to get into the line, into the interior line, and before he really breaks into the secondary, if he sees something kind of start to open up to his left or his right, he's able to change laterally and run laterally and bounce something to the outside or maybe break something back up inside. He is the quintessential zone running back, which is perfect for the offense that they're going to be running this year.
And we comped him to LT, LaDainian Tomlinson, with the way he bounces, with the way he sees the field,
mm-hmm.
with the way his lateral quickness is, with the way he can pound the hole if he has to.
Right.
That's exactly the way LT was his vision was unprecedented.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was a commercial, albeit, but it was the way he talked. And I don't know if you remember the commercial, but the commercial to where it was through LT's visor. And it was looking at the play over and over again and playing it in his mind as to, okay, what am I fixing to do? Who am I going to hurdle? Who am I going to juke? Where's the hole going to be? Where's the defender's going to be? And then it plays out exactly like he wants it to. Albeit that was a commercial, but if you listen to LT talk, that was exactly the way he envisioned every single play.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he was one of the best running backs in the NFL for such a long period of time.
Right.
I think really that's what Smith brings, is that LT type of run to where he's going to see the plays before they're even there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to hit it just like Boyd does now. Except Boyd is a power runner with breakaway speed. He can power through you, or he's just going to run around you. That's one. I mean, it's
he's a multifaceted back. He can catch out of the backfield.
Yeah.
which is another great Yeah, I'm really thankful that he came back as a fan because he could have definitely left after this year and been on a team somewhere. Yeah. He would have gotten drafted if he wouldn't have been a number one, or not a number one, but a first round draft pick, he's guaranteed top 3 rounds for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at the lowest, he probably dropped to a 3rd round draft pick, but I could very, very seriously see him going in the 2nd round for sure if he went this year. But I think if he's able to raise his stock over the course of this next year, you could definitely see him go high 2, bottom 1, something like that.
Yeah, it's the run game is gonna be there.
Yeah, and then you've got Mike Woods, Traylon Burke, and Trey Knox all returning. Those are going to be your 3 starting wide receivers to me. Depending on whether or not TQ Jackson decides to stick around, which I hope he does. I think he has decided to stay around. I know that earlier in the winter, back in December time, he was talking a lot about possibly looking at going somewhere else. I hate that we're missing Jordan Jones. I hate that we're going to lose him. I thought he was a really dynamic player for the team. But sadly enough, I mean, injuries and situations arise, and sometimes you just got to do what's good for you. So there's no doubt in my mind that he'll land somewhere and be a great addition to whatever team that he decides to go to. But I think that's a testament to the wide receiver corps.
Yeah.
Because the fact that we can lose somebody like a Jordan Jones and not really technically be hurt in that is something that you gotta respect. I mean, Justin Stepp was the only coach that was. They kept him for good reason, and I think he showed it again. They signed Nick Turner or Darren Turner, rather, not Nick Turner. I don't know why I said Nick Turner. But Darren Turner, they signed him as a defensive back, but after signing him, I think people had labeled him as a defensive back. I think because that was primarily what he was in high school on his tapes. But I think he was recruited as a wide receiver. Hogsports.com has him in as a receiver, a 4-star.
Yeah, that's the thing is, even though he's transitioning, it didn't change his star rating at all.
Right.
And that's because if you're coming, it's easy to come. People talk about D-backs are frustrated receivers who can't catch.
Yeah.
But when you are a D-back who can catch, it's a very easy transition to wide receiver because you know exactly what's happening. You can read coverages better than most receivers because you know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and so you're better at getting separation too because you know how to prevent hand fighting, so you know how to be good at hand fighting.
So on those option routes and stuff that you're going to get, especially RPO, you're gonna get the option of what you want to do. Guys like Darren Turner can thrive in a system like that because they can read the zone, they can read the man coverage before it even happens, and then bam, they're already in the open spot before the quarterback even knows what's going on.
Yeah, and he's listed as 6'2", 206, which is actually the perfect slot receiver that you could ask for. So, I mean, you could probably see him. I don't think you'll see him this year, but whenever he takes the field, whenever I say this year, I'm always talking about this coming up year that we're in the off season. So this year, I think you could see him maybe rotate in some smaller conference games, non-conference games, depending on how well the team's doing in the later end of the season. I think you could see him possibly rotate in 3rd and 4th quarter in some of the lower conference setups. But I can foresee him fulfilling a slot role really easily, rotating behind probably Woods. I mean, if I had to put another slot receiver out there.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Woods because Burke
and Trey Knox will be on the outside.
Yeah, they got too much speed. They're going to be
they're both tall.
Yeah, they're going to be the burners down the field. They can go up and get a ball. Burke showed last year. Him and Knox both showed they can make any catch on the field. It doesn't matter. You can put the ball anywhere near them. They're going to come down with it.
Right.
So that's going to be the big thing.
Well, the biggest key for everything on the offensive side of the ball It's going to have to be the 5 guys up front.
Yeah.
They have to get that solidified, and they're getting a massive improvement on the offensive line this year, coming back with Noah Gatlin.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be the starting right tackle again. I don't think they're going to move him from that spot. And Ricky Stromberg was super impressive last year with his effort and just being thrust into that starting role and having to do something late in the year. Even though they didn't have the success that they were looking for, Ricky performed individually. I think he performed great. And then Ty Clary and Shane Clennon, I think now that you have a right tackle that's going to be back in Noah Gatlin that can really anchor that side of the line down, I think you're going to see them be comfortable enough to move Shane Clennon back over to center.
Yeah.
Because with him being a true center coming out and coming,
snaps are going
to get quicker. And honestly, that's what killed the offense a lot last year. It was the speed of the snap. Because if you noticed in the pocket or in the shotgun formation, it was almost a full second before the ball was coming back to the hands of the quarterback. And at that level, I mean, understandably, it's not the pro level, but even though in Division One,
not just Division
you're
One.
basically playing NFL
You're
light
in the SEC West.
Yeah, you're in the SEC West. I mean, you've got guys that are already halfway into the backfield at a second.
Yeah,
you know? And that I think the timing, if the timing gets better in the exchange between center and quarterback, I think you're going to see a massive improvement.
Especially with a quarterback who can actually play the position,
right,
and who can thrive in a system like this with a good running game behind him.
Right. So you take Shane Clinton, you put him at center. You take Ty Clary, and I think the only position as of right now that's up for debate on the offensive line is going to be left guard. And I think it's going to be a battle between Chibozie and Wana and Ty Clary.
Yeah.
I think those two will have to battle it out in camp. Obviously, there'll be battles all over the line, but
especially because of Clary transitioning back.
Right, and I don't think that you move Myron Cunningham out of that tackle slot. I really don't.
And that's with the RPO. That's going to be, you have the center, and then the next most important lineman is going to be that left tackle, with a right-handed quarterback, because that's the blind side. That's Frank's blind side.
Yeah.
So with the RPO, you have to give Frank's time to read that. And last year, with the snap being so slow, with the offensive line play not being as great as we wanted it to be, even though I think we all realized real quick that Hicks wasn't the future. Wasn't going to be that great last year. None of the quarterbacks we had were going to be that great last year.
Right.
You still have to have an offensive line to at least give them a chance. And last year, it just wasn't happening between the snap, between the line, between Gatlin being hurt, and it was a mess. And I think we got the right coach to come in and actually fix that, because, like I said, offensive line is where he made his money, and that's what he's going to focus on a lot, because he understands that the running game and that offensive line is what's going to drive this team. And that's going to be the focal point of everything that him and Kendall talk about and everything him and Kendall do.
So who do you think the two people on offense are that are going to make the most impact coming in?
Like coming in?
Yeah.
I don't see really. I mean, Smith, of course. I mean, he's going to be the guy behind Boyd that's going to give Boyd that rest, that's going to give us that other back that is on the same level. We're not going to lose any talent at the running back position transitioning between the two. And that's the biggest thing is Devwah Whaley. The gap between Rakeem Boyd and Devwah Whaley was so great. That's what hurt. That's another thing that hurt us last year was.
I mean, props to Devwah Whaley.
Yeah,
but Devwah is more of a third down back.
Exactly. He's more. I'm going to pound it down your throat.
If you tell him that it's going to be a straight gut play, just put it in their face and grind 3 out.
Exactly.
He's your guy.
Exactly.
But if you're trying to put him in a zone run scheme and allow him to let holes develop and all that, he stopped his momentum way too much on way too many plays.
Exactly.
And it would cost him in the end.
Exactly.
So Traylon Smith and who else?
I mean,
now granted, he's not one of the ones that got signed this year, but he's
Yeah.
essentially a new player because he had to sit out last year
Yeah.
for a year of eligibility.
but
so.
really, I mean, offensive side of the ball, we're not going to see a lot of people play. Those spots are pretty much solidified.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
you got so many returning starters.
So, I mean, out of the only other one that I can see possibly getting some playing time and making some kind of impact would be Turner, which we've already talked about.
Right. I mean, if I had to pick another one, I'd probably say someone like a Ray Curry.
Yeah.
Only because of his size.
Or the tight
There's
the
going
tight
to be there's going to be a lot of battles on the offensive line. I'm interested. That's the most interesting spot to me on the team this coming up year in fall practice and through the spring really is who steps out in each position on that offensive line. Now on the defensive side of the ball, I think you and I are both pretty well in agreement as far as who we think could step up and make an immediate impact. And I've actually got a third one that I'm going to talk about too. So Kellen Burrell is a middle linebacker that we drafted, and he's he's 6'2", 205.
Yeah,
and
he's got the speed.
They got him listed as an outside linebacker, but in high school he played a lot of inside linebacker.
But you can see because of his speed in a 3-4 scheme, a middle linebacker with the speed that he has is going to be petulant.
Yeah, able to work from the inside out is going to be something that's really going to help this defense lock itself down.
And I mean, he's an amazing talent. He shows a lot of upside, a lot of potential. He's not afraid, even at an undersized 205. He's not afraid to get in the mix. He's not afraid to bring the hat. And the guy that we're going to talk about after this.
Oh, and he's going to work this summer. I guarantee you. Put muscle on.
Oh yeah.
I expect him to walk in somewhere around 215.
Yeah, and the guy that we're going to talk about after him is the same way. He's very undersized. But they're both going to bring the hat, and that's what we watched tape. We watched tape on these guys right before this so that we could have our stuff fresh in our minds, kind of what we want to talk about. We both saw the same thing from Burrell, a guy who can run sideline to sideline. He's got great speed. He's got great track down speed. He at times sits down and watches so that he can see where the ball is. But we also saw his first step is always towards the line of scrimmage.
Right, yeah.
And that was one thing that we saw was in an RPO league, which is what college football and the NFL both have turned to.
It's easy to get burned.
It's easy to get burned like that. And in high school, you didn't see it a lot because the quarterbacks that he was playing against weren't smart enough to see that. And the coaches on the sideline apparently weren't smart enough to see it either. If I'm a coach on the sideline against Burrell in high school, I'm doing straight play action up the gut and I'm throwing it right behind him.
Yeah.
That's all because his first step was always up into the line and he relied on his speed too much.
Yep.
He would sit down sometimes, but most of the time he would just rush up to the line and then he would rely on his sideline to sideline speed to go catch wherever the runner was.
Mm-hmm.
And that, that's really the only downside to him, and that'll get worked on. Odom will work on him with that. And I mean, his upside is absolutely fantastic, especially with the speed. He's gonna put on size.
Somebody else is gonna. He can play both safety and cornerback. Miles Slusher.
Yeah,
he's somebody that I'm not gonna go so far as to say that I could see him with being a 4-star and having seen what I saw on tape. It's very possible that he could start as a freshman, depending on who they have coming in to replace him at cornerback, or coming to replace Cam Curl at cornerback. But just his ability to flip his hips and react to a ball while it's in the air, that's going to be a driving force behind a lot of turnovers in the secondary for him if he's able to continue to improve on the route that he's going. He was committed to Oregon and then flipped there at the last minute.
That was one of our
came on home.
That was the biggest flip we had.
That was probably one of the biggest gets of this recruiting class was Miles Slusher to get him to flip. He's one of those guys that could come in and make an immediate impact just in practice, because I think his speed and just his ability to read I think Felipe Franks is going to teach him a lot on the practice field by way of,
and that's the same thing with Burrow is
right.
Franks reading that defense is going to teach Burrow, and that I believe Odom's going to let it go for a couple of weeks at first, just to see if Burrow can register in his mind as to, okay, I'm pushing up too much. Let me sit back in my zone and then let me find the ball.
So I tell you the third one that I'm thinking about that could have an immediate impact. That's on the defensive line and a kid named Blaine Toll, the Hazen Hulk they call it. He's only a 3-star by way of rankings on 24/7 Sports, but the kid plays with a 5-star heart. I mean, he's tenacious as an outside defensive lineman. His pass rush, he's relentless on the pass rush, great strength. And he's a little taller at 6'5", but he's coming in at 6'5", 245, and that's a prototypical rushing end. And if he's able to put on a little bit more muscle, get up somewhere in the area of 255, 260.
That's what I was going to say. 260 would be about their target weight.
Yeah, about 260 for a 6'5" frame, right? And if he's able to carry that on his frame, which I'm sure he will, because his body composition, he is muscle. He's not anything that needs to be trimmed down or anything like that. You're only going to be adding muscle weight on him. I think you could see him working on one side or the other as a rotation in a backup spot, potentially, depending on who comes along in spring ball. This is all really early. This is all kind of projections over what we think could happen through spring ball.
This could all change after the spring
and it could absolutely
like
change during spring ball. I'm just excited that National Signing Day is over with, and Arkansas was good enough to have the 30th best ranked in the country.
Some people are going to say, well, we had the 23rd ranked last year. Yeah, but Morris is nowhere near the recruiter that Sam Pittman is. Me and you were both high on Chad Morris. We said we probably looked a little too deep into his history. We didn't look at recent stuff, and that was our problem with him. And
it was definitely mine. I looked too far into the resume.
Yeah,
and tried to be hopelessly optimistic because I was so, as a fan personally, I was so fed up with what was going on with Brett Bielema, and just seeing him go and just having somebody come in. You know, we lose the AD, we lose the head coach, we lose all of that. The program's basically in shambles, and then, you know, all of a sudden this guy that had ties to Dabo Swinney and came through this Clemson program and had all this prolific revolutionizing of the sport whenever it was in, with Clemson and having, having Coach Taj Boyd and, recruited Deshaun Watson and brought him in. You thought, man, this guy was able to really put together a good, high-octane, explosive type of team. And I think Chad Morris's problem was Chad Morris got away from being Chad Morris, and he relied a little bit too much on his assistant coaches. I'm just going to say it. I don't think Joe Craddock should have ever been an offensive coordinator at all.
We both agreed with that.
I think you see that very evident now that he went from being an offensive coordinator in Division I SEC Western football to where now he's a tight ends coach for UAB.
Well,
so
I think maybe the first sign of trouble that me and you should have realized was Kelly Bryant didn't want to come. To play for Arkansas under a person who had been very close to him at Clemson. So that could have been. But when you go back to the three guys that we talked about, the one thing that both of us saw in Miles Slusher was he's kind of just like Blaine Toll. He's a heavy hitter. He plays with amazing drive, but he's really undersized. He's going to have to put on 10, 15 pounds of muscle. But the kid hits like a tank.
Yeah.
At 6'1", 181, he hits like someone that's 210.
So with Ebony Jackson being the other running back that's committed but he hasn't signed yet because he's seeking treatment for some personal issues going on in his life right now. All the best to the young man. Wish him the best. Hope that he's able to get back to the old him, to what he knew made him great. I don't know the entire particulars as to what's going on with him. I just know that he sought some treatment for some demons that he had been wrestling with for a while. If we get him, I think that's a great addition.
Yeah.
If not, I know that Sam Pittman had talked about the other slot of the two remaining would be possibly another running back. But I wouldn't be surprised if by chance they try to go out, possibly get another offensive lineman or maybe even another safety or cornerback. I'm interested to see what they do in the last two spots because I figured that they'll probably be beating the bushes on all the JUCOs because I'm pretty sure they're going to want somebody to come in at tight end that's going to be able to make an immediate mark. I mean, you've got Hayden Henry.
Yeah.
Wait, which Henry is it? Is it Hayden as the tight end? Hudson is the tight end.
It's Hudson.
Yeah, it's Hudson. There's too many damn Henry boys up there on the team. But no, with Hudson Henry being the tight end, I'm pretty sure you're going to. Hudson Henry's going to be your starter. He's going to be your starting tight end. You had Grayson Gunner on there, which was not a very. I mean, he was okay, I guess, but. With missing Cheyenne
O'Grady's leaving a huge hole.
Yeah, he's leaving a huge hole and leaving that pretty well broken on the tight end area there. And it's going to be interesting to see who's able to step up and fill that role. I truly believe it will be Hudson, but who are they able to bring in and learn and bring success 3 years down the road?
Exactly.
So we have. Football is not over.
No.
Football is not over. For the first time since 2001, Vince McMahon has rebooted the XFL. And it's not the way that it used to be because a lot of people remember the XFL back in the days where you had people like Rod, He Hate Me Smart, and all these other people with all these nicknames, and the rules were so extreme. You had the cheerleaders in the skimpy little bitty tiny stripper outfits and all that.
He tried to implement too much WWE, but now it's
the thing was that promotion in and of itself was never meant to be televised.
Yeah.
He didn't want it to be on TV. It was supposed to have been just a stadium type atmosphere where you go to the stadium, you watch the game, it's a party type in the crowd, everybody's having fun and you're watching people play football, and it's real football, real games, but it's extreme football. It's they wanted to put on padded backyard football games with different balls, and that's the way that they wanted to do it. And I think had it been the stadium model, I think it probably still would have fizzed out just because you can't really pick up sponsors for people that aren't going to have a lot of eyes on it. But now it's completely different. It's Oliver Luck, who is the father of Andrew Luck,
He was a quarterback
for the Houston Oilers back in the day. He is now the commissioner of the XFL. He's the one that's steering the ship. Vince McMahon bought it. He's just the one that's piloting it.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to do great things. Watching him earlier this morning on ESPN, he alluded to some great points about the league being quicker in their rule changes. Some of the rule changes, with the kickoffs, the extra point plays. They've got the extra referee on the field whose sole responsibility it is just to spot the ball and get out of the way. And then you also have a sky judge up in the box that's looking an instant replay of every play that's able to say, hey, you may have missed this or you may have needed to call this or whatever. So the game flows smoother. But we've got the very first games coming up starting tomorrow. We've got the inaugural season of the XFL schedule. And with week 1, you have the Seattle Sea Dragons taking on the Washington, D.C. Defenders. You've got the LA Wildcats playing the Houston Roughnecks in Houston. You've got the Tampa Bay Vipers playing the New York Guardians. And then you've got the Seattle Battlehawks playing the Dallas Renegades. DC Defenders coached by Pep Hamilton. Some of you may know was an assistant coach at the Colts for a while, was an analyst there for a while. You've got the Dallas Renegades. A lot of you guys may remember the name Bob Stoops former coach for Oklahoma. One was part of the co-national championship with LSU back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of old names, a lot of new names, a lot of players that made it to the league, did a small stint, maybe a year, maybe made a practice squad and got cut. But you've got numerous NCAA All-Americans, national level All-Americans, first team, second team All-Americans. I'm super excited about the future of this league. I think if there's any league that has been created in the past decade that can have success, I truly believe it's the XFL.
And the thing is McMahon already has a 3-year plan in.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything is already scheduled for 3 years. That's what it is. But it's projected, of course. It's a new league, not a ton of sponsors, but a lot. But I mean, they're going to be on ESPN. They're going to be on Fox. They're going to be on ABC. They're going to be on FS1.
And that's the killer right there is Fox and ABC.
Exactly.
Because it reaches everybody.
Yeah.
It's all encompassing.
Exactly. And then plus you're on ESPN.
Unless
so
you have Dish Network, then you won't be able to watch it. Which I don't understand. Why do they do that?
I don't know.
Why would
that's
you?
why they're losing.
Why would you take away one of your greatest sources of
exactly.
I mean, you literally canceled the Super Bowl for all of your Dish Network subscribers. How big of an idiot are you?
Exactly.
Like, what the hell?
And you're going to be on ESPN, which is going to, grab everyone else.
Right.
And but I mean, the thing is McMahon. It's projected he's going to lose $375 million in the first 3 years. That's nothing to him.
375 don't mean nothing to somebody who has billions of dollars.
That's nothing to him, but I like that they already have, like the AAF. It was really a week by week basis.
Right.
With this league, with the reboot of the XFL, you know what you're going to get, and they have a long-term plan in place.
Yep.
They want this to succeed, and that's something that the AAF, they didn't have the financial backing. McMahon can get anybody to buy into anything. He is a promoting genius.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure he's gotten plenty of sponsors from WWE to come over.
Exactly. That's the thing is he's already reached such a broad audience with WWE.
Yeah.
This is now, and the thing about it is it's this completely separate entity, and now it's kind of lured into even WWE's doing better now because Vince McMahon isn't there to really oversee every single thing and micromanage. But that's another conversation. Another conversation.
Yeah.
But this XFL, I believe that it is going to I believe that we're looking at a very bright future for it. Me and you have different views on which team is actually going to take home the title, and apparently XFL also. The XFL experts also have different views on who's going to take home the.
Yeah, nobody really knows.
Yeah,
nobody really knows because nobody has anything to go off of.
Exactly. We'll see it after the first week.
But I think that I think the road to the championship goes through DC. I think the DC Defenders are the number one team in the league based on their player personnel, if only for their quarterback alone. I mean, they have Cardell Jones starting as their quarterback. Now, granted, they're missing 2 of their wide receivers for this first game. Two that would be considered starting wide receivers for them. Could be key pieces for them this year. One with a foot injury, and then I think another one with a knee injury. Neither one of them practiced Wednesday. I think that they've been listed. One was listed as out. The other one was listed as questionable. So I think it's Tyler Polka is listed as questionable. So if he comes back and you're able to see him on the field, he's able to perform, then I think DC should take this over the Seattle Sea Dragons. Their opening line is -7.5 on some sites, -8 on others. But that's the beauty of the XFL is an 8-point game is really not out of character because you've got the rule changes with the extra points being worth 1, 2, and 3 points all line of scrimmage plays. What game jumps out at you?
Well, according to the lines, I mean, because if you look at it, the Battlehawks are really one of the teams that is projected to be near the bottom, and they're going up against a team that's projected to be near the top, which is the Renegades. And the Renegades, which I don't understand. I mean, you talked about this. I don't understand the projection of 9.5 because they're going to miss their quarterback, they're missing one of their running backs, and they're missing one of their starting wide receivers in Jazz Ferguson. So you've got Landry Jones, their quarterback, who's more than likely going to be out. They have 2 no names behind him. Then you've got Lance Dunbar, who many people will remember from his Dallas Cowboy tenure. He had some personal problems, ended up getting released. Got I think he was a couple of arrests, but I don't know if I guess he's turned a new leaf. And then you've got Jazz Ferguson, who I'm not real familiar with, but he was projected as one of the top guys for Dallas. So all three of those guys are looking like they're out.
Mm-hmm.
So now looking like unless Dallas's roster is just completely that stacked,
and they say it is.
Yeah,
they say that they have the highest talent level averaged over any other roster that's in the XFL right now.
If it is that stacked, then I guess the 9.5 makes sense. But with three of your top guys missing, even going up against one of the worst teams, I don't trust the 9.5. I think the Vipers and the Guardians probably jump out to me more than anything, just because of the news surrounding it, that it's gonna be the best game of the weekend.
Yeah, the line's only what, 2.5?
2.5, 3, depending on what you look at. So
it's in favor of the Vipers, isn't it?
Yeah, the Vipers on an XFL site, the Vipers are predicted to outlast the Defenders in the playoffs, and it's looking. They projected as Tampa Bay versus Dallas in their Super Bowl, their championship, whatever.
I think the biggest question for DC is going to be how well does Cardale Jones hold up, because he's getting a little older now.
Yeah,
he's in his mid to late 30s. Well, yeah, he's somewhere in his mid 30s right now, 34, 35, something like that, if I remember correctly. But it's going to be a question as to how well those teams hold up, because your talent gap, I think, from your starters to your last guy is going to be. Sorry.
He's only 28.
Holy shit!
He's only 28.
I thought he was way older than that.
He's only 28.
27 years old looks like a 42-year-old man.
He does. He's got such a.
He looks like he's got a mortgage with a minivan.
He's got such a big frame.
I know.
And that's, it's gonna be. I believe that it's gonna be DC and Dallas in the final, but like I said, we won't know until after this first week or these first couple weeks when we see what they actually have going.
So are you going with all the line scores, or you just or do you have anybody you think might pull an upset?
I'm taking St. Louis with the plus 9.5, just because I don't think that, even if your roster is stacked.
So you're not going to take a money line? You'll take them to cover? You think Dallas still gets the win?
I think Dallas still gets the win, but I'm taking St. Louis to cover, just because with three of your top guys missing, especially your starting quarterback.
I'm going to take Seattle to win outright. That's what I'm going to do. Because you're missing, like you said,
you're missing St. Louis?
Or St. Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. All right, so it's going to take a second to get used to these new damn teams, but I think St. Louis is. I'm going to take St. Louis to possibly win outright, because with missing your top quarterback Landry Jones and your top running back, that's your offense right there.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. I trust Bob Stoops more than probably any coach in this league, just because of the success that he's had in the past.
And he's been historically known for having teams ready to go early.
Yeah. And, I mean, you've got Jim Zorn. I can't remember what team Jim Zorn is coaching, but
I think it's the Vipers.
Yeah, I think the Vipers. But out of any coach in this league, you're going to trust Bob Stoops to have a team ready to go no matter what.
Well, I'd say the same thing about Pep Hamilton too, because he's got a pedigree behind him. I mean, he's coached at the highest levels for, not necessarily head coaching experience in the NFL, but he has coached in the NFL for quite some time, and he knows what it takes in order to get the job done. He was there. I want to say that he was there in the Super Bowl champion year, but he was definitely there in the Peyton Manning era, and knows what it takes to be great.
You're looking at 10 weeks, so we probably really won't know a lot until probably, I'd say, after week 3.
Yeah.
Once everyone's kind of been able to play the field, then we'll start to see how it's actually gonna shape out, who the better teams are, who has the biggest thing is who has the deepest, because the problem with this is we're already getting a lot of injury talk, and that's never good for a new league like this, when the guys that you're marketing around aren't out on the field.
Yeah, I know.
And that's going to be a problem.
But at the same time, give somebody else a chance to rise up and make a name for themselves. And that's the beauty about this league, is nobody really knows.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know the names, or some of the names anyway. But you never know who's going to step up and really make a name for themselves. I think this is awesome, man. I really do. Having football in spring, it's not just spring ball anymore and fast feet. It's actual full contact football.
Exactly.
It's going to be so great. So the ABC game at 2 Eastern, that is the first game of the weekend.
The Seattle
right?
Dragons versus the DC Defenders.
They open up at -7.5 for the DC Defenders. I will take them to cover that. I think that they'll win by a touchdown or more. I think Cardale Jones steps out and makes a name for himself yet again. I'm with everything that happened with him back in Ohio State, he's really turned the corner. And having heard interviews with him on shows like the Pat McAfee show, and just watching tape on him, different YouTube shows and things like that, I really think that his maturity level has increased vastly as to how well he's able to lead that team.
Yeah, and I just think Houston, they've it was between PJ Walker and Connor Cook, and I was kind of high on Connor Cook when he came out of college. I thought that he could have a decent pro career coming out of Michigan State just because of who he came out from under. I wish all the best to D'Antonio. He just announced that he's stepping down as Michigan State's football coach.
Yeah.
And that's something that, he's been a stalwart. He's been there for a while. Michigan State loves him. He's been a winning coach. He knows how to win in the biggest leagues.
Right.
So, all the luck to him. But I thought Connor Cook coming out of that, but he even lost a starting job in this league. So if that tells you anything.
So what time is that game?
5 p.m. Eastern.
5 p.m.
Saturday
Eastern on Fox. So 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Central and 4 p.m. Central.
Yeah. And it's going to be the same times on Sunday as well.
First game will be on ABC. Second game will be on Fox. And then on Sunday on Fox, the early game at 1 p.m. Central will be the Tampa Bay Vipers and the New York Guardians. I'm going to pick the Vipers to at -2.5. I think
they're the only road favorite.
Yeah, they're the only road favorite picked to win. And for whatever it's worth, at the beginning of the Alliance of American Football, this league that was on last year, every home team opened up with a win for whatever that's worth. So, and then the last game, Frankie's going to pick the Renegades to cover that, the Battlehawks to cover that 9.5 spread. But I'm gonna pick the Battlehawks to win outright. But I do know one thing is absolutely certain. I'm excited for this weekend, dude. I'm so excited.
I'm super excited. I'm super excited for also other reasons because I finally get a Saturday off, and I get to watch the two games. I'm going to watch UALR play basketball, but while I'm in the arena, I'm probably going to have the Dragons and Defenders game on my phone, sitting there watching it while I'm watching the and if the basketball game is too bad, I'm just going to walk out and watch the football game. But I'm super excited about this league. I think that Oliver Luck is the perfect guy to carry it.
Mm-hmm.
Vince McMahon really got a diamond in the rough with him. No one was really looking at him to take any big positions like this, and Vince was like, yeah, I want him. So Vince went out, got Oliver. Oliver knows what he's talking about. He's played in professional football, so he understands how to attract people, and especially being in the Oilers system, the air-it-out Oilers system.
Yeah.
So he understands the importance of a fast-paced game, of an offensive game, of getting people into the game. So that's going to be something. And like Vince McMahon has all the financial backing in the world. That was what the AAF was missing. That's what Vince McMahon brings. So it's going to be. I'm really excited to see this league because now we get football year round.
Oh, I'm so
football
excited.
Year,
so
because
excited.
by the time this ends,
this is like a dream come true.
By the time this ends at the end of April, we're going to be talking about OTAs and rookies reporting and
spring games,
the draft and all that. So
the playoffs getting ready to ramp up for the NBA.
Baseball season is going to be in full swing at that point. So they have this going at the perfect time.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm super, super excited for this.
Well, I think that about does it.
I think that does. That's
Frankie. Always a pleasure, my brother.
Always a pleasure, man. And this is, we went a little over the time that we said we were going to do, but it was just I
Well, a lot to cover, man.
I got you interested in a baseball trade. I got you interested in trade deadline for the NBA.
I know, right?
I know.
I'm making
I
progress.
feel like I'm doing good in my job. You're interested in stuff that
I'm
you're
becoming
not
a
usually
well-rounded
interested in.
sports fan, man. Becoming a well-rounded sports fan. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate all the support. Give us a like. Leave a comment if you like what you hear. If you don't like what you hear, we love to get feedback from people. Let us know what you guys may be more interested in. If you have any questions about things that are coming up, you can follow me on Twitter at Doc_Carver. You can follow Frankie at.
It's just Colton, not Franklin. So
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to figure out.
Yeah.
But we're definitely going to be. We're not. Logistics is a problem right now. We're trying to find a place somewhere in the middle to where we can meet up. We think we got a spot, but we got to talk to some people. But get ready for a lot of double tap, a lot more content coming your way. Because we're going to be doing more. It'll be solo videos. May try to do like some call-in stuff, to where I can, because I have a Google Home and stuff like that, so I can, ring you up, have you on the phone. So
that would be perfect, dude. That would be perfect. We might try to do something like that too.
We may try to do something like that, but definitely a lot more content, especially now that we're off all the NFL stuff, the trade, all that stuff. So that's the thing is now it's just going to branch out more.
Yeah.
So we're going to start talking about more stuff.
Like, subscribe, ring the bell, that whole spiel. You know what to do. Hey, and tell your friends. Tell your friends that are, even if they're marginal sports fans, we don't try to get way too in-depth a lot of times because we know that if you get too far in the weeds, you lose some people, but that's just who we are. We love talking about the nuances of the game. Some people like that, some people don't. But, I mean, even casual sports fans, everyone is welcome here. So let people know if you like it. If you don't, just pretend like you never saw us before in your entire life, and it'll all be good. It's Doc Carver, Doc Frankie. We're two docs, no degrees. We're out.